Welcome to From Caving In to Crushing It, the podcast for those who find themselves immersed in adversity and choose to write their story instead of having others write it for them. I'm Deraney, and I'm your host. Hi, Priscilla. It's so good to see you.
Morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So in the beginning, I always thank the person who introduced me to the guest. So I have to thank Paul, and I hope I don't mess up his last name, Chiaravella. He's going to get mad at me. But Paul, we're all in North Jersey Chamber of Commerce together. So I thank Paul for introducing me to you, Priscilla. And I recall when I was speaking with him, when I mentioned that my oldest son has autism, and that when he was a child, we were trying to help him, it was so challenging to find the proper resources for him. He said, well, Drew, I have to introduce you to Priscilla. And I remember when we had our call, we had so many things in common. To be able to share stories with somebody who's in the similar shoes and familiar with, children with special needs, it was comforting to me to be able to have a talk with you. And learning about your organization, I really wanted to have you on for a couple of reasons. One, to promote the organization because it's so important that people are aware and they know what to do. But number two, is I know you went through a lot in your life, and you are a person who chose not to retreat. You chose to move forward and do something positive with the challenges you went through in life. So I thank you for coming on, and that's why I wanted you on. Plus, you're an awesome human being. So if you could reach back as far as you could recall and pinpoint that defining moment in your life, Priscilla, that really made you believe and realize that there's a better way to live, and you're going to take charge of the situation and take that challenge and move forward and see it as a positive rather than retreat. Something that's helped mold you to who you are today.
So I have a 17-year-old son who's on the autism spectrum. Back when he was little, we did not really realize that there was an issue. I didn't have any reference points. I didn't have any kids around. And I think I was also in a bit of denial. He didn't when he had language up to a certain point, and then it kind of just stopped. So he would say some words, just kind of he'd walk around and be like pizza, Batman, but not to anybody. And he didn't answer questions, he didn't answer to his name. He didn't there was no spontaneous language. He had a lot of other different issues too. He would bang into walls if he was walking down a hallway. Couldn't get up and down stairs easily. You couldn't take him anywhere. He'd get very stuck on things. You'd take him to a GameStop, forget it. He wouldn't leave. You'd have to drag him out kicking and screaming because he'd have to look at every single box. And then we got him diagnosed, and everybody told me there's really nothing you can do. You put him he was already in a special program at a school. He had OT, PT, speech, all that through the school. And when we went to the doctor, they wanted to put him on medication. He was 4. And they just said, put him in the school with the programs. I said, I already have that. And that was really all you can do. And so many people, the doctors told me that, and people that I talked to, they all said, oh, there's nothing really you can do. It's the best that's going to happen. And that that bothered me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to put him on medication because he was so little. And so I never did. And back then, now he has some medications, but back then I didn't want to put him on anything because he was so little.
Yeah.
And I started doing some research. My sister also started doing some research, and we were looking into what could be the root cause of what was going on with him.
Right.
I didn't want to there's such a broad range, autism's such a broad range of symptoms and challenges.
Yeah.
That I was there's got to be something that you can find out, what is the instead of looking at as, okay, it's autism, looking at it more like whatever his challenge is and what could possibly be the thing that is driving the issues that he's having.
Right. Right.
So we were researching that and we were looking for programs and therapies and things that we could look into that would help him.
Mhm.
And we did find some that really did work on the root causes of what
Right.
he was going through and breaking it out into, okay, this is what he's having problems with, and let's work on, instead of like, let's teach him social skills. If you have a child that can't receive that information,
Yeah.
no matter how much you try to do speech therapy or social skills to that, therapy to that child, if they can't receive that information because there's something lower level that's happening and you don't resolve that, you could keep doing that forever. It's not going to move you forward, right?
Right. And you mean receiving
So
that information with the synapses in the brain, kind of connecting the information to allow them to process it. Is that kind
yes.
of okay? Okay.
Yes. So if you have a child like who has a problem with their gut and they have inflammation,
Hmm.
and that's one of the underlying major reasons that they're having problems, you could do all the therapy you want. If you don't get that under control, you're only going to get so much
True.
from that,
True.
right?
Okay.
Because you're always battling the inflammation.
Right. Absolutely.
If you have a reflex that is like, you have a baby, right? And you touch their hand, they automatically do this, right?
Right.
So if a child like holds on to that reflex, that's going to stunt all of their other development. So if you don't deal with integrating that reflex, it's like this underlying um problem that's never going to get, you're never going to get past that unless you
Okay.
deal with that. You may
Right.
get progress from all the therapies, but if you're not dealing with the lower level problem, you never get to the next level.
Okay.
So we spent a lot of time doing therapies that were getting to the root cause, changing his diet, supplementation, detoxing, a lot of things like that. And he had a ton of progress.
Hmm.
And by the time he was, I want to say 5.5, he was conversational
Okay.
and you could take him anywhere.
Wow.
He didn't have the temper tantrums
Right.
that he had, and it was just a completely different trajectory in his development from what he was at. He still has a lot of challenges and we still do a lot of therapies with him, but um I think all the time about what his quality of life would have been like if we had listened
Oh,
to
I
everybody
agree.
that was telling me, there's nothing you can do and this is the best type of, what's considered the mainstream type
Right.
therapies. um and that's, so I'm very thankful that we were able to do that for him, and that we had that outcome. And I still continue to research things, and there's new things that come up all the time, and we try different things. I'm trying to give him as much independence as possible. Now that which is scary, he's turning 18 soon, and we're on to another chapter. But again, I think all the time about what his quality of life would have been like if we hadn't pursued the things that we did. But then that also creates another challenge, because all of those therapies aren't covered by insurance and they're very expensive.
Wow.
And we were lucky that we were able to provide that for him. But, that's not the case for a lot of families. So, like, I'll talk to families all the time and they'll be like, oh, that sounds great. We should do that. Um, and you tell them how much it's going to be, and oh, is it covered by insurance? No, it's not covered by insurance. Look, how the heck are we supposed to, how are we supposed to do that? And
Absolutely.
and you try, and sometimes people try to do things on their own and they try to do things at home, but if you don't have like professional guidance, it's really, really difficult. And so that's where the challenge comes from, is a lot of things exist, but trying, number one, to find out about them. Number
Okay.
two, to try to find therapists, because there's a lot of therapies that they're all booked. You can't even find anybody to do some of these things for you. And then three is paying for
How
them.
you pay for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
And
and you
yeah.
think about the percentage of people of kids and adults who have autism, and the fact that it's not covered by insurance is a travesty. And do you know if there's something happening grassroots to get the politicians to work with the insurance carriers to include at least some kind of coverage?
I know that a lot of the different therapies will try to move that forward, that they're going to, get some sort of coverage. It's just really hard because a lot of them are not mainstream. They're considered alternative. They're
Yeah.
considered not necessary. You have to have all of these, uh, clinical trials. And I know that in particular, the one therapy that we've done, they've been trying to do clinical trials. But if you have something that you can't wait 15 years
No.
for something to have enough data
Right.
to
Absolutely.
for them to get insurance coverage too.
Right. Yeah. No, the earlier that you can get the treatment, the better. And
Yeah.
it puts parents in a difficult position where they are forced to make a decision,
Yeah.
money or help my kid. I mean,
Yeah.
that's so I know that you're on a mission, and you have an organization that you're very, very, very involved in. Can you tell us a little about how you got there after helping your son? I'm very intrigued.
So I used to work at one of the centers that he went to,
Mhm.
and people would call in and they would ask about the program. And I would tell them, and again, they would say, "Oh, this sounds great." And then you'd give them the price, and there's a covered by insurance, and it's not covered by insurance, it's
Mhm.
considered non-medical. And people would cry to me on the phone. Um, I I I left that job within 6 months because I couldn't
Yeah.
handle being on the phone all day long, rehashing my son's story
Right.
over and over and over again, and then having disappointed people, um, get upset on the phone.
Right.
Um, so that always bothered me. And then there was just kind of a series of events that happened. And I was talking to some of the other people that were involved in the program. And I don't even know how it happened. It was just like one day a decision was made that we were going to start an organization to help families be able to afford these types of therapies.
Okay.
And it just kind of, one thing led to another. And then 2019, we got approval. We had one fundraiser and then COVID hit,
Yeah.
but then we still got through. We
Good.
still got through. And then we had a virtual fundraiser during
Yeah.
that whole fun time.
Yeah.
And so it's Mission Kid Success. So what we do is we provide grants for families to get service and therapies that they're having a hard time affording for their children. And we work directly with the providers. So we pay the providers directly for the services that they receive. So we make sure that it's going to the right place.
Right.
Um, our grants are also partial grants so that the families have to have investment into the program itself so that we make sure that they have the most efficient use of the funds.
Right.
And we consistently follow up with the families and the providers to make sure that they're attending regularly
Mhm.
and to track their progress. We're 100% volunteer based. We do everything out of our houses. We have very low administrative costs that's covered by our board members and our main sponsors.
Mhm.
So anybody that makes a donation, it goes directly to the grants. And we've helped probably about 20 families at this point, but we have a lot more to announce very soon. So
Oh, that's wonderful.
um, yeah, we cover all of New Jersey and parts of New York, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania.
Beautiful. Now, last time we spoke, you provided me with a link to a video that I watched twice. And I actually had my son Matthew, who's got autism, watch with me. And that was of your son in mixed martial
Tiger
arts.
Showman's.
I love that. Can you please tell me about that whole event? And I was like in awe of watching how passionate your son, and your son's name is
Matthew.
Matthew, and my son's name is
Yes.
Matthew. So that's why we clicked.
Yes.
Can you tell that
Yeah.
story about that whole mixed martial art thing?
So Tiger Schulman's had a fundraiser for an autism school, and they had it was so great. It really was. Um, they had a bunch of students that had different challenges.
Mhm.
Be part of this fight night with like real MMA fighters. Um, and they did it like for real, like it was like a real fight. They had commentators and a video feed, and each person came out to their own theme song. My son came out to the Star Wars Darth Vader march. They all had their own names. He was the
Great.
chosen one.
I
They
love it.
interviewed him.
Yeah.
He took it so
He did.
seriously. It was great. They had to stop the fight because he was beating up the guy too much.
It was, I'll tell you, I loved it. Yeah, I watched it twice, and my son was telling me what types of kicks your son was trying and explaining it to me. And I
Yeah.
remember what was he? I remember your
It
son
was
had
the
a
spinning back kick.
spinning back out of his
Yeah, the
favorite.
spinning back kick and the spinning back punch. He likes
Oh,
to use that a lot.
I love that. I love that. I love
That's a
that.
signature
Ah,
move.
it's funny. I think what I'll do is I still have the link. I'll put that in the show notes as well, if it's okay with you, that people
That's
can
fine. Yeah.
watch that.
Yeah.
Because, really the message there is that children and adults with special needs are amazing human beings. And we humans who don't have special needs can learn a lot from people who do, because you talk about resiliency and perseverance and believing in yourself and not giving up. It's powerful. I mean, I've learned so much from my son, and I'm sure you've learned a ton from yours and the other, children in the program, that if we just open ourselves up to being a support system for children with special needs, and I'm talking about education, the insurance companies, pharmaceuticals, the government, everybody, we'll have a much better world. And it's just, yeah. So Priscilla, I could probably talk to you for hours, and I wanted to actually ask you a couple questions, and then I'm gonna tell the audience how they can get in touch with you and how they can help Mission Kids Success. So you have an opportunity to sit down with young 7 to 10-year-old Priscilla, and you want to give her advice about life. What are you going to tell her?
Definitely life is not an, A to Z type path. Like you're not gonna just go, you're gonna do this, then 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 you're gonna end up here. It's very much like A to H and then back to C.
Yeah.
And you really don't know what life is going to happen, what's gonna happen to you. I was an accountant. I was very career focused. I did not think that if you told me today that I would be, we would have started a charity and where and all of the things that have happened over the years too of him, it's been an interesting life with him being on the autism spectrum. We've been through like experiences that I would never have, that's the one nice thing. I've been through a lot of experiences that I would have never have been involved in,
Right.
such as like that fight.
Yeah.
And he did film camp.
Wow.
He did the Joey Travolta film camp for a few years. That was
Wow.
amazing. And then just all the people too that I've met over the years, the wonderful families that I've met. And it's just been a very different experience. So, you never know what life is going to hand you. And, the best thing that you can do is make the best out of it. And, don't really listen to experts sometimes because they have their own perspectives. And if something doesn't sit right with you, you have to do your own research and see what makes sense to you too, and not give up on things.
Wonderful advice. Yeah, I agree. We all need to self-advocate. And if our children can't advocate for themselves, we need to do it for them. And you're right. The term experts should be used loosely because it's an overused word. So I give you credit, but that's wonderful advice. Different hat. You are now sitting down with Priscilla, the young businesswoman entrepreneur, and you are going to give some advice on business. What are you going to tell her?
Um, I would say that, you are going to make different decisions in your life that you may feel like you regret because you didn't think them through as much as you should. But that all of those things will help you eventually. You will take something from all of those experiences and they will help you in something that will come down the line someday. If that makes sense.
I love that. Well, the audience certainly has grasped the essence of Priscilla Leto. Did I do that right? Yes.
We get a lot of the Leto because of Jared Leto.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure it's Priscilla Leto, and I want to make it easy for the audience to find you and help the organization. So audience, and please, the website is Mission Kid Success. That's MISSIONKIDSUCCESS.org. And on that site, there's somewhere where you can donate. So that's one thing you can do. Any amount would be appreciated. The second thing is if you're a family looking for help, you can get help and request grant applications when they're open on the website. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a get help page where you can see all the eligibility criteria and the whole grant application process. Right now our applications are closed, but you can send us an email and we will put you on a notification list. But if you go to that website, you can see everything that's available.
Beautiful. Now, there's something happening on October 14th that I'd like you to tell the audience about. It's something very important.
Yeah, so we're having our main fundraiser for the year on October 14th. It's a Saturday. It's actually going to be at the Tiger Schulman's in Elmwood Park.
Okay.
So they
It's
were
Elmwood
very
Park,
generous.
New Jersey, folks. So even if you're
Yes.
not in Jersey, come on over.
They were very generous and they let us take over the whole facility.
Wow.
To put on a Halloween fun and wellness fest.
That's great.
We have music and food and yoga classes and kickboxing classes. We do a retro. There's a guy who comes in and does a retro video game lounge, which is awesome. And bounce house, magic show, character appearances. Just a really fun day. And again, if anybody is interested in that, they can go to bit.ly. So it's bit.ly/MKS Fest 2023, which will take you to the Eventbrite site where there's more information to get tickets.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, Priscilla, I thank you so much for coming on and for sharing your story and your son's story. You're an amazing human being. You wouldn't be where you are now if you weren't. I thank you for everything you're doing for the community and of course for your son and other people's children. Keep doing what you're doing. You're an amazing asset to the community, and I thank you so much for coming on, and I'm grateful for Paul for introducing us.
Thank you, Drew. I appreciate it. It was a real honor for you to ask me to be on here. So thank you.
Absolutely. So take care, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and give us a review to help others find it. I'd like you to answer this question. Are you living the life you want to live, or are you living the life others want you to live? I'd like you to think about that for a second, because I strongly suggest you live the life you want to live. If you want to learn more about what I stand for and my services and how I'm able to help many men get out of their own way, please go to my website at www.profitcompassion.com. Feel free to also email me at drew@profitcompassion.com. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Take care of yourself and choose to write your own story instead of letting others write it for you.